Awesome. Well, welcome to the podcast, Gio.
Thanks, you. Finally get to meet you in person.
No, it's been awesome.
I've met pretty much all the Perth crew except for Reedy and you, and probably. I mean, is Jake also from?
Jake's over from Sydney. But,
okay.
But yeah, that's sweet that you've met the whole Perth.
So yeah, Julian and who else was here last year? There's well, I guess Marcus was still living out west for last year's races, so I'm counting him. But he's in Sydney now too.
Yeah, we
Dan
count him
and Donnie and then Angie and
Crystal.
Yeah, Crystal. Just a great crew. I learned so much from those guys.
Did you hang out with them a lot last year over in the race?
It ended up being so I came over and I kind of was flying solo a bit. I had rented out a van, and when I first got to Maui, we did Kihei was on.
Yep.
And so, just kind of rolled down there and met the crew that was going. And
nice.
They, I think it was just Julian and Crystal the first time.
Yeah.
And I just started, at that point I'd never had a GoPro yet. And so I had my phone in my case. Yeah. And we were doing Kihei, and I was just kind of following them along because they were doing so well. Julian was ripping and Crystal was doing super well. So I was just filming them to kind of, almost in a way to have something to show them at the end of the run. And, bring myself into the community as some, just the guy doing follow cam maybe.
Yeah,
I had gotten pretty good at it. Because back home, again, I had never had a GoPro. So I had been doing a lot of filming from my phone. So I'd gotten pretty good at it. So I just kind of put that skill to use. And I'd send them the clips at the end, and we just met. And we did a bunch of Kihei runs that same weekend. It was just super nice people. And just that sort of kicked off the Perth, Puerto Rico relationship.
Yeah, sweet. Well, maybe you want to also go from there to the board. So yesterday, I rolled up to the end of the run and looked out, and we saw this guy pumping in on what looked like a soap block.
So far, yeah. Yeah,
so I know the crew in Perth, we love our shortboards. And I was stoked to see someone else riding something that was crazy short out there. So do you want to just walk us through what happened with that?
I guess in the beginning of downwind foiling, at some point, people had gone to really short boards, but they were really wide.
Yeah.
And they were on really big, thick foils too. So I guess, the short board thing has an evolution, but in its current state, which is where I got it from, it's from the WA crew, Reedy, Julian, Donnie. I guess I hadn't known about you, but I guess you as well.
I think they were really doing it well before I got in. They had short boards before I kind of knew what was going on. They were definitely particularly Julian and Reedy. And there's another guy at Perth called Belly. He's not so much on social media, but he loves the short boards too. They were definitely the three probably pushing it the most. And then Donnie would buy their boards secondhand, I think, and just continue doing it. That was sick.
So I think I picked it up, and at the time when I saw it, it was so counter to what everybody else was doing.
Everyone was going long.
Going long and narrow, and tiny foils, race foils, right? Yeah. It was all about getting your fastest kilometer and paddling up in your tiny foil.
Which it still is this year.
It's still, for racing, it still is, right? Yeah. But seeing that and seeing guys having fun doing the complete opposite of that, I was like, man, wait, hold on. What am I missing here? So I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and I would keep bugging Julian about how he was doing it. How is it possible that you can paddle this thing up with a 720?
Yeah.
Or, you know, even an 850 to me boggled my mind. I was just like, you know, I can barely paddle up my 8-foot board. Like I was still learning at the time, you know, just kind of getting into it. But it ended up being a huge revelation in a lot of ways. You know, yes, it is a lot of fun to surf and ride a smaller board. But I think the biggest takeaway for me was how it augments everything you already know from paddling up longer boards. It puts everything under a microscope. Your timing. It puts your bump selection. It puts your like your paddle technique and your footwork.
Yeah.
It just brings everything into hyper focus mode.
Totally.
And irons out. It forces you to iron out any kinks that you have in what you're doing. And it might not translate necessarily. Like when you go back to a longboard, that doesn't necessarily translate over because it's still like you have so much access to board speed that you don't necessarily have to bring all that stuff with you. But it doesn't hurt to like go down that route, even if it does, you know, it is hard. At first, it was really hard for me to transfer.
So what was that learning curve like? So you'd be using an 8-foot board when you're over here. You went back home to Puerto Rico and then...
It was a 9-foot board, but...
It was a 9-foot board.
But yeah.
And then, so did you start... What was the first one that you tried that was shorter? Did you try any of the Oz Cruise boards when you were over here last
No, I wouldn't have dared. That, you know, those, I think they were on 6-footers pretty much. Yep. And, you know, that 9-foot board was a custom Frank that I ordered, and I mean, that thing made my life a lot easier. It was like autopilot. Like you could literally just paddle 3 or 4 times and it would get up to speed and pretty much get going. But I remember trying, for example, there was a 600R Proto that was going around that year. And I tried it, and it took me a few tries to paddle the 600R in pretty decent condition. It must have been 18 knots on a 9-footer, right? Yeah. And so that's about how much wind I need to get the 600R going now on the shorty board.
Yeah.
Like, maybe 20 knots or so.
Yeah, crazy.
But, you know, there's certainly been an evolution within my own technique. But I wouldn't have dreamed at that point to ask them for that. It would have just been, someone would have had to come get me at Hookkeeper or something.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like it just would have been horrible.
Yeah.
But the way that I got started with it's kind of hard to like get... you know, access to a lot of boards in Puerto Rico, especially like some kind of like niche board, like a short one, you know,
it's basically a custom, right?
Yeah, there's one shop, and, you know, at the time, everything that was coming in was longer boards. So I just kind of ordered a 6.6 KT Dragonfly, the second version, because it was this sort of happy medium between short enough to be probably really challenging for me from where I was coming from. It was a 6.6, 88 liter. And then, but long enough, wait, did I start with it? Yeah. So long enough that, you know, now I'm on a 6.0, that it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to like be tipping the tail and the nose way too far. It ends up being that it was extremely hard regardless, you know, like it took...
I mean, it's actually a big jump going, so you went from a 9-foot down to 6.6.
Well, okay, so there was a 7.4 in between, but I don't think that the 7.4 wasn't, the purpose of that 7.4 wasn't to then step down to a 6.6.
Yeah.
The reason that 7.4 was a Kalama and was a really good paddler as well, extremely efficient through the water. But the only reason why I was using it really was that I was doing mostly Uber runs at home. I do a lot of runs by myself, and I could fit that 7.4 inside of an Uber XL. The 9-footer was a no-go. Like every time I tried, I would get turned down, and they're like, "No, get out of here with this thing." Yeah, you know, I couldn't fit it in the car. So it was like an in-between race board. But then it wasn't like a tourney board or anything. And then I was like, all right, I got to bring this down. You know, like I got to try this shortboard thing. So I started with that 6.6 KT. And the first day, you know, I went, it was like 15 knots. I should have been on a really big foil, but I had the 680 on, and it was a mistake. It took me like an hour and 25 minutes to be able to paddle up.
Yep.
And then I luckily I was able to like, you know, keep going and not fall because I did not want anything to do with trying again.
Yeah.
Yeah, to paddle that thing up.
I mean, I'm impressed that you managed to get it up after an hour and 20 minutes. Often what happens is the longer you take, the harder it gets.
It was literally a lucky bump. Like it wasn't gonna happen. And then one really juicy, hollow bump just literally picked me up, and I gave everything I had left and got going.
Nice. Yeah.
And I, at that point in time, I was really in tune with the 680, and I had a love affair for a long time.
Yeah.
I was riding that foil a lot. So I knew that if I got going, I would know exactly the feeling. And then I had a weird doubt about putting anything bigger and spannier on a smaller board. I thought maybe there'd be like a lot, for some reason, I thought there'd be more flex.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, just too much to handle on less liters, which ended up being not true. I mean, I guess there's extremes, but, and then from that KT, oh man, that KT taught me a lot because I was on that for like, I remember I took it to France.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I did this awesome bay run in France with the H60 on that board. And I knew right then and there, like, I'm going deeper down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always kept in touch with Julian, especially just because of the rapport that we had built here on Maui when we met. And he would just always be like, no, you got to go down to the 850 now. No, 720. Like, he just kept pushing me. No, it's 6'6". That's too long. You need a 6'3", 6'2".
Can you imagine living with these guys? Enough is never enough. They're like, crazy, when I got my race board, you should have seen the look on their faces, particularly Belly, who you wouldn't have met. I was like, do you want to swap? He just looks at me and goes, mate.
You must be crazy.
Yeah, no way am I getting off my 5'8" board for yours.
5'8", jeez.
Yeah, but no, I know that feeling. That's good. So
I heard through that. I also kind of I heard Julian was making himself a 6'0".
Yeah,
and I don't know how tall he is, but he's a little bit lighter than me, and I think a little bit shorter. I'm 6'2". I'm a pretty long guy, but I'm not super heavy. You know, 77 kilograms.
Yeah.
And I heard he was making himself a 6'0", and I'm like, all right, how am I going to go down? Because KT wasn't making anything smaller than that. And at the time, I wasn't really considering going custom because I didn't even know what to look for.
Yeah.
You know, these guys have been building these short boards in Western Australia for a while, but that might be conditions dependent, or like they might know exactly what they like. And then one day, a friend of mine, Miguel Martinez from back home, he was removing one of his boards that I think he had ordered. I mean, he had ordered to do sup with, but I think he had ended up using it a lot more for like winging, light winds, and power winging and stuff. And it was an Amundsen 90 liter 6.0 by 18, and I'm like, this is my shot. You know, like I can get a 6.0 in my hands right now.
Yeah.
And so I told him, like, look, that board is mine. Like, just save it. I'm buying it. Like, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get my hands on a 6.0 in any other way. Yeah. At least not fast. I would have to order a custom. It was going to take 3 months, whatever it is. So right now, I probably wouldn't have been doing that soap bar or that size, you know, by now, because I've only had that board about that time, about 3 months.
Yeah.
And man, I don't know what it is, even with the small boards, like just a couple inches shorter feels night and day difference. Like you can just surf it so sharp and so like,
don't you agree the size board that you're using there, it almost feels like a prone board. Like it starts feeling similar to a prone board. It's never going to be like a prone board, but yeah, it's close.
I have since done some runs with a power wing in really windy conditions with a prone board with like a 50 liter 4.6. And yeah, it does, obviously, it feels lighter under the feet, and it's like, you know, you almost don't see it. Like you're foiling and you don't see the board at all. But it's like the percentage is negligible. You know? Like it's really not this sort of like, oh, it's too much for me to be on a 6.0 now. Yeah. It's definitely negligible. And I think it could be down to construction, because that soap bar, I call it a soap bar because it's white and it's literally the shape of a soap bar. But what it actually is, it's an Amundsen Firebolt sup. Yeah. That that my friend Mickey had made for himself, like custom. I don't think it's a one-off. I think. Yeah. Like he doesn't make Amundsen doesn't make that board. No. You know? Okay. And so, you know, I don't know. For me, it's been a magic board. It's super light construction. It is really thick, but for some reason it works. Like it doesn't. Well, I got to use it today. Thank you very kindly for lending it to me. You were frothing on the shortboard. I was frothing so hard, like because I just couldn't work out how to bring more gear over here, to be honest. So like I just brought my racing gear really. And when I saw you have that board, I was like, oh my god, that's what I wanted to bring. Yeah. So yeah, I was stoked. But it felt really good. Well, hopefully we can get you on it on a Kihei run if it turns on sometime next week. Like after Mua, I was hoping to get some Kihei runs because it's a lot of fun. And if you can get that board down there, man, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, sweet. So what's the Kihei run like? It's just way more. It's more of a bay run, right? Basically, the wind blows. Kihei, yeah. So it basically like the wind is blowing straight offshore at the start. Yeah. And so you kind of have to paddle for a little while before the bumps start building. I guess it's probably similar to what the Perth to Rottnest might feel like, where it's like, you know, going offshore for a while, you got to paddle, like a kilometer or two maybe. Exactly. But man, once it starts building, it's just like stacked perfection, you know, like short period bumps that they're so easy to just like, you know, cut in and out, go behind, go over, like it's just pure skate park. Yeah. You know, and you I think there's two versions or maybe more, but I can't remember the name of the parking lot now, but I think there's like, you can choose to do a longer run down there than what most people do. And it's, yeah, you just kind of rock up to the beach. It's beautiful, perfect, deep blue water, like everywhere in Hawaii, pretty much. Just, it's exhilarating, man. It's just, you're surrounded by these beautiful mountains. That's awesome. And just pure, like, intense wind. It's crazy. While you're talking about the blue water, how's that section of the ADs run? Did you notice that blue water there? It's totally wild. Yeah. It's like you've arrived in an untouched, like, perfect paradise, pretty much. Like, it just feels like water that's, you know, it's the first time being seen. Yeah, you know? Totally. It's so crazy. Cool. Hey. Yeah, I mean, ADs definitely is a challenging run and everything, but the power of the nature that you're surrounded in makes it all worth whatever the difficulty of the run is. Yeah. It's just beautiful. Yeah, totally. It's ridiculous. I wish I'd had more of those under my belt before the race. Yeah, was it your first one? That was my second one. Yeah, but I did improve. You could always use more ADs runs. I think, the more you can do it, the better. But you know, the first one I did took me in, man, I want to say almost 2 hours because I fell, and I didn't even really know how to overcome the paddle up. The backwash is crazy. Like, it's so different. Yeah. You just almost have to forget about it, I feel like, and just push through. Just keep going. Just push through and pretend it's not affecting you. And I almost found, even if you've fallen, I guess it depends on where you fell. If you're really far inside, you might want to paddle out a bit. But what I found ended up working for me was not just to like sit down and wait for a good moment. It's just, the moment isn't coming. You have to be standing and paddling with as much energy as you can until that moment arrives. And when it does, in the words of Trent Carter, which was my sort of like my guardian angel that day, who was like just waiting for me to get going, Oh, you were there.
Yeah, I was there on that
You
run.
were there,
I was there.
Jake, yeah.
Well, I left you guys. I totally dipped, hey.
But he said, when the moment comes, you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I remember, I still have that in my mind.
Yeah. You just got to be ready.
You just have to be perfect.
So we rolled up that day. It was you, me, Jake, and Trent. And Trent was like, he's the local there.
Yeah.
He knows the deal.
The 3:30.
Mm-hmm. The 3:30. Well, it was later than that probably. It was like we were probably on the water 4:30. Maybe not that late, but 4. It felt like it was kind of getting dark, I would say.
Yeah.
Even though sunset here is like past 7 p.m.
Yeah.
But yeah, then Jake got up. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go stick with Jake. And then our plan was all to come down and meet up. I lost Jake. I sat down for like 5 minutes, kind of looking around.
Oh, you lost Jake? I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, he just, like when you, that section, it's so hard to stay together.
Yeah.
Because like you get locked into your own thing. Yeah.
And so what happened like that day, I felt like the swell breaking on that bommy there was bigger than on race day.
Yeah.
And I got pulled back, like I got one on the head and got pulled back like, I don't know, 10 or 15 feet, but paddled back out. And then I had a surprisingly good first paddle up until I went to turn out to sea. And one last paddle and I hit the foil. And click, click. And then after that, I feel maybe I just like, my nerves got to me or I had burnt out on that first paddle up. You know how like when you do a new run, I guess maybe like, especially if it's a challenging run, like you kind of have like like what is this one going to be like, and maybe you get a little bit of anxiety or like kind of like on race day too.
Totally, yeah.
When the race is there, you're just kind of like your heart starts pumping a little bit more. You start to feel it like up here, like your heart's like here.
Yeah.
And so after that one paddle up where I hit the foil, like I just kind of had a hard time getting back up again. And then once I did get back up, 2 miles in, you hit that backwash and it's like...
Did you come down again with the backwash?
Yeah, no, I came down with the backwash. And for anyone who hasn't done an AD's run, I would like to personally say that you don't know backwash, and at least my opinion, you don't know backwash until you've done an AD's run. I feel like there's a lot of backwash out there in many places, but I've never seen anything like that, and I might not be the most experienced, but man, that was so intense.
The backwash is the same size as whatever swell's
coming through.
It's just literally the identical size. So you have that coming back at you when you're dropping down. It's pretty heavy. And
it's like we have some I would consider pretty heavy backwash sections at home that pale in comparison.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. Like the first times I saw these backwash sections at home, I was like, whoa, who the hell is going to paddle up in this? And I just got through it.
Yeah.
And one day eventually I fell and I was able to paddle up in it. But this is like, it's almost not backwash, it's like underwash.
Yeah.
It comes from underneath you and just blows you up into the air.
Yeah. Do you know when you drive around the Cape when it's windy there and you first come past the rocks and you look out and the wind, the wind's blowing from this direction. But for all you know, like if you didn't know that, it could be blowing the other direction because like the water is just moving like this and it's just a big
you see
jigsaw
bumps going out, you see bumps going this way, that way. Yeah, it's pretty hectic.
Like the way that I've heard Simeon describe it, it's like playing 5D chess out there because you got every element moving at you from every angle.
Well, and then there's, like you have whatever your own sort of physical limit of, how much you can leave out there, on the line. Like if you're not ready to be full on exerting, for whatever that first like 4 miles or whatever it is, like if you don't have the gas for that, you're coming down and then you're paddling gassed out.
Yeah.
So totally. You kind of have to be at a certain level of physicality to be able to pull it off in the first place.
And skill.
Skill, forget it. Yeah. That's like, that's both. Yeah.
If you're learning to downwind, don't go to ADs.
That's a waste of time. Totally. You're not going anywhere. I mean, even on big boards, even on big foils, whatever it is, like, it's just not conducive to learning at all. Yeah. no way.
What I want to ask you is about using the shorter boards and like what conditions you use the shorter boards in. So I feel like shorter boards are almost designed, or like they feel best in a bay run situation where there's no other wash happening. The opposite to ADs. Like if you had to have a short board out at ADs, probably no chance.
I'm not going.
No chance.
No chance. So, no, I would say that's like the one place where the smaller boards don't really perform well is in messy conditions. I've taken it out in a lot of conditions back home, and the most trouble I've had with them is when either there's a wind switch, like there's a direction switch in the wind, like let's say it was side shore, and suddenly it's like side offshore but with a lot of offshore, and you come down. Yeah. And so you've got now that side shore bump that was coming from a long time ago, and you have a new bump. Side offshore chop that's pushing you in a different direction. And so now like the little board you want to kind of use that chop, but it's because it's a combination of using that chop to get onto the faster bump. Yeah. And then, so if they're going in different directions, it's a bit challenging. But I've been able to do it. I think the small board thing is the way that I would recommend anyone who's keen on doing it is to just slap on a big foil on there. Yeah. Like bite the bullet about whether you're going to be caught behind bumps or won't be able to go up and over. It's almost not even about that. These small boards are really just a lot more for turning and carving and having a surfy run, right? Rather than just kind of like pushing your best kilometer or something. So I think it became a lot easier for me when I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to put on a 980S. I don't care that it's 16 knots right now. If it's going to feel slow or whatever, 18 knots, whatever. I just want to dial in my technique with it. Yeah. And sure enough, like it actually... having gone through the process of going small first, I did the 680 for a while with that board, and then one day I went straight to the 980S, and it was like just like almost easy. Yeah. I mean, it sounds weird, but you can get it to the point where these boards are, you can get really consistent with them. You just have to be a little more patient and dial the technique in. I mean, I think from my experience, even just from here, having used the longboard a lot and then coming back to the shortboard, there's definitely like, if you feel like you want to get something more out of your downwinding, or there's like something that you're missing, for sure give it a go. Because it's like, man, the way that you look at the ocean using a shortboard and a surfy foil compared to a longboard and a racing foil, they look like it's your same ocean, but you're seeing two different things. It's crazy. I think today you probably saw it because you did runs with your race setup, and then you came back for the surfy setup one session later, and I think you came in like 10 minutes after the Snow Brothers or something, because you were probably out there just like just carving it up, the whole day. So I mean it's just a different tool in your tool belt almost. Totally. I like the racing thing. It's fun. It's I think it gets the blood pumping and the mind working in a different way than just the fun surfy stuff. Totally. It's kind of like exhilarating in its own way. You kind of get to push your own limits. It's almost like you're racing against yourself at first. And then the surfy stuff is like, man, I feel like I learned a lot more about bump reading from it. Because you're turning in and out of energy pockets, and you can really just kind of start to see where all those little tiny places that do have energy in there kind of reside, Well, I feel like racing, like these fast forwards have gotten to a stage now where you're just mainly pushing over everything. Yeah. You're ignoring most of the chop. You just want to get the big fast stuff. And that's what I'm saying. Well, when you surf, you can juice every little bit. Every little bit. Yeah. And you can get high and you can surprisingly slow. Like, you can get into little nooks and crannies with these setups. Especially like, the shorter board won't hit the front of the back of the back of the bump, and and a surfier foil can like turn really sharp into this little pocket of energy. It's just different, but almost just, I don't want to say more complete, but just in the way, in the amount of available resources that you can get into with those smaller setups is greater.
I want to jump into a bit more about what's geo, like what have you done that's led you up to getting into downwind foiling. But before we do that, just quickly want to get your thoughts on like parawing versus sup for these small boards.
Versus sup for the small boards, I mean, if you're, man, for me personally, I really enjoy the challenge of having learned to do it with a paddle.
Yeah.
And like I said, like, you actually get, like, your paddle game just gets really more polished because of it.
Totally, yeah.
So, from that standpoint, I would definitely recommend any current paddlers to explore that route for sure. Like, go down to like a board that's like, 10 liters over your weight or something. Start there and then make it short and just put on a big foil and start exploring that. If you're not a paddler, and you just, or even if you are a paddler and you just, you don't think that's your thing, then the parawing is the next sort of, answer to that question. It's like it's much easier to get smaller gear going on a parawing if it's out and windy.
Yeah.
If it's like if you've chosen your parawing size correctly and your board size and your skill is there, parawing is certainly much easier to get going.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a lot of fun. Like it opens, I think the parawing's most exciting feature for me is, it kind of turns downwinding, or it can turn downwinding into a kind of like a non-linear situation where, with the sup, you kind of just, you get going and you draw your line all the way to the end, right?
Yeah.
Or with the parawing, you can kind of just get going and then you can like just kind of bring it back out, go surfing out a reef for a little bit and then go back out, hide it, continue your downwind, or just tack up wind for a second, catch up with your buddies or whatever.
Yeah,
so
like
that non-linearity aspect of it to me is pretty interesting. And so I'm not sure, I don't really personally care too much about the whole hands-free thing. Like I honestly, when I parawing, I actually just wrap the thing around my hand and keep it in my hand, because what I just mentioned, like that whole non-linearity thing, I can just kind of whip it out and toss it and then bring it back in and toss it and as many times as I need. So I don't really pack it down unless I've decided that I'm just going to go downwind for a long time. So yeah, for anyone that doesn't paddle or that does paddle and just kind of just wants to have an easy time with smaller gear, the parawing is a superior tool, in that sense. But I think that journey of getting it down with a paddle for me has been totally worth it.
Yeah,
it's just super fun and
I don't know if you feel the same way, but personally, I I felt more exhilarated paddling out on this board today.
Yeah.
Because every single time you take a short board and on a different run, like that 8.0 board for me now, I'm so confident I'll paddle it up in almost anything.
Oh yeah.
Where like the short board, you're kind of like, will I get it up? Will I get it up? Like,
well, that's
and I love that. I love the and then when you actually get it, you just got so much more adrenaline and rush.
That's what I was going to say about the parawing for me is like, this might be very personal. It might be something that is completely my own experience, but having spent, enough time, I would say, with parawinging in terms of like just in the application of downwinding. I'm not going into like upwind downwinds or just like racing with a parawing or anything like that. But just in the application of downwinding, I feel like when I go with a parawing, like it's like something's missing, and it's not the paddle in my hand. It's that sort of combination of having to do something difficult,
yeah,
right, to get going, and that, you know, that there's, I don't know what it is. It's like sometimes I feel a little bit empty after a paddling run. Even if it was super fun, I feel like that element of the challenge wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's fine that it wasn't there. You know, a lot of people call it, they say that it's like the, you know, just the, you know, paddling is like you just take the frosting off of the top of the cake and you just get the good stuff.
Yeah.
I guess for me, like, I just kind of like to have the whole cake.
Yeah,
I like the cake with the frosting on top of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a more complex thing, and yes, you have to work more for it.
Yeah.
But that's part of the thrill for me. You know, and I still do, and I will still do paddling downwinds plenty. I think it's, you know, certainly where I live, it's an applicable tool. Like, we have a lot of spots where like they're really hard to reach with a paddle, or I really like the application of like going out and I think this is like the term, the first time I heard the term was from Patrick Repstock, and it's just downwind line augmentation, I think is what he calls it, where you just kind of like go out to get that perfect angle in, and so you don't have to spend any of your run going out.
Doing the cut.
Which is pretty much like all of our runs, we have to kind of spend the cut, you know, quite a bit. We don't have, at least where I live in Puerto Rico, we don't have a lot of runs that are close to shore. And we have to get past like sandbars and outer reefs that are further down the line in the run. So you kind of have to like work out for a while. And then I've been using the paddling a lot for as a backup. I did it the day that you saw me pumping into the harbour.
Yeah.
I had a paddling as a backup because I've used that board and paddled it up plenty in PR, but I've never done it here.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, it's just different. It's just different conditions. And you didn't need it at all, so good for you. But I was like...
I don't know how to use a power wing yet.
Okay.
So
okay. I have some. I brought a few if you want to give them a try.
I should learn.
They might be a little too big for Maui, but yeah.
I'm kind of saving that as maybe the next thing after these races.
Yeah. And I think, look, you know, I think for people who just kind of like, I mean, look, man, paddling takes time. You know, you have to really be dedicated to it, because as soon as you start making any progress in the paddle game, if you let go for 2 weeks or a month, you lose a lot of it, you know. Yeah. And so I think for people that don't have a lot of that time, you know, and want to experience downwinding, paddling is the way.
Yeah. Totally.
You know, you can do it on a big board if you want. You can do it on a small board or a like medium board. You could use your wing board. It's surprising to me. I almost feel like more paddlers are around the world. I wouldn't say necessarily in Hawaii though, but I feel like more paddlers have picked up paddlewinging than wingers.
Yeah, interesting.
It's an interesting thing. I've kind of, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems that way.
Well, I would love to do the para wing purely to get on an even smaller board. That's the beauty of it. You can do whatever.
Dude, my favorite para wing runs have been on the sinker. Just like a 50 liter 4.7. And, you know, it's kind of hard to do that sometimes in PR if it's not super windy. You know, we don't get Maui type winds or even Perth type winds. You know, I think our sort of average is like 12 to 18 knots. Yeah. And then we have 20 knot days and we have 10 knot days at the extremes. Yeah. Rarely do we have like a 25 knot solid day. Like that doesn't happen back home very often. So I was taken out, I still have it, but I have a 6 meter para wing, which is a lot to handle, you know, but I wanted to get going with a sinker board. And so I just kind of like, you just prop it up and deal with the consequences once you're on foil. Like you just wrap it up and try to wrap it up cleanly. Definitely take your time if you're going to do it. I don't know how, are there a lot of para wingers in Perth right now?
I think it's exploding, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there's lots of people.
Seems like it would be a good place, yeah.
I would say the paddlers, not so much. At the moment, we've kind of got this, in Perth at least, it's a pretty big downwind community. There's a lot of people who've super focused on the paddling.
That's awesome.
And they want to learn the paddle. Like, I think it's like you're saying, part of the challenge is learning the paddle, and people want it that way. But then there's also probably the wingers. I'm finding most of the wingers are transitioning to it. So yeah, we'll see. I think there's it's whatever works for you really that should dictate.
Yeah.
And you can't not do both either. You can do both if you.
I do both, and I really enjoy both. I mean, there's just I'm not part of the group that is ready to abandon the paddle.
Yeah.
Like, not even close. I love paddling.
Yeah.
Like, passionately.
I like the full body workout of paddling too.
Yeah,
like it feels like it's like the best exercise you possibly can do. Downwind foiling on a paddle is like you can't
ridiculous.
Can't beat
it. Like your endurance becomes next level.
Yeah.
There's no way about that.
Awesome. Well, we'll change topic here a bit.
Yeah, sure.
And did you grow up in Puerto Rico?
I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I didn't really spend a lot of time as a kid doing water sports.
Okay.
I was into all the ball sports at first. I lived further inland, so consistent access to the water wasn't like in the cards. But I always had surfing on the back of my mind. Like I remember being quite young and having all the surf magazines that I would pick up at the pharmacy. This is when surf magazines were sold at like Walgreens and just like you could pick them up at any sort of like store.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. And I remember just like get home and it's like old school like 90s or like late 80s and early. I was born in 84. So like late 80s and early 90s surf shots. Like, I remember like Mark Occhilupo posters and Shane Dorian posters, Kelly Slater, but old school stuff. Like, they were probably surfing super narrow and long boards back in those days, pretty much, and nothing that they're writing now. But I remember hanging those posters on my wall and I'm like, man, I think like I kind of want to learn how to surf. Like it's something about this, was calling my attention. So I would say like the water sports journey definitely started through surfing, and then eventually I did kind of just go in and learn how to surf.
Did you do much like swimming or other water activities before jumping into surfing?
Not really. I mean, I had learned how, I knew how to swim since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I wasn't interested in anything other than just kind of being in salt water.
Yeah.
And I mean, the sports I was doing at the time were kind of just like, really more, I mean, when you're a kid, you kind of just like, you go with it, You
just do whatever
you go with it, like what you can do. Okay, let's go. Soccer practice, whatever, baseball or basketball, whatever I was playing. And so you just kind of go with it. But I knew there was like a different calling,
Yeah.
And so eventually that worked out, and it wasn't, I wasn't necessarily trying to push it at any sort of like, oh, I want to get really good at this. It was more about just that environment, being in the environment.
Yeah.
And whatever teachings were available from that. That's what I was after.
So when was your first surf session? Like, do you remember where it was or how old you were?
Yeah, I remember my first session was actually I might have been 10 or 11 years old.
Yep.
And I had taken, not without permission, but we would stay at this home that was along the beach. We'd go there in the summer, and there was this one kid that lived there that was quite older than me. He must have been like, in his teens. And I admired this guy because he was a surfer, right? I was like, oh, this is my hero. Like,
yeah.
And he had this like really nice shortboard by a local shaper back home. And, I would bug him. I was just like, hey, teach me how to surf, Dad. Take me how to surf. And so we went to this beach break, and he was like, just like, go, just be careful. And I freaking snapped the board.
Oh, no.
The first wave I tried to go on.
Oh, no.
The nose just like flap.
Oh, I'm surprised you kept surfing.
And no. Well, I was completely dreaded after that, because I was like, that was my freaking hero's board, and I just broke it right in front of his face. He went away pissed off. Obviously, like anytime you break a board, you're kind of just like, oh, I don't know if it was a magic board or not. I didn't even know what the concept of a magic stick was back then, but he definitely seemed pretty pissed off. And, that was my first surf experience, was breaking a board, man. It was horrible. And, I didn't even go through the boogie boarding phase. Like a lot of people, I think, get thrown into waves on a boogie board to kind of learn. There were no such thing as soft top surfboards back then yet.
Yeah, they were all hard.
They were all sort of like thinly glassed, high performance surfboards. That's all there was. But I think a couple years later, I didn't go surfing again. Not because of that experience, but just because the way it played out. But I would say my first real surf experience was on a 7.2 fun board from Hawaiian Island, HIC, Hawaiian Island Creations. And I just remember it like it was yesterday, man. It was maybe like a waist to shoulder high day.
Yeah.
At the local break in San Juan called La Ocho, which is kind of like, it's a crumbler. It's not a hollow wave or anything, but sometimes it will break for quite a while. It's like you can get like a 30 meter, 40 meter run in there if you're on the right wave, which, we think about that in foiling. That's like, it's done.
Yeah.
But on a wave, it's like, that feels good, And so I just remember that, like, I had been kind of just watching how people go right. And I'm regular foot. So I was like, all right, how I'm going to go right. And being on a fun board made all the difference, just because it's lots of foam under your belly. And I just got going in that first glide and finished that. I rode that wave from beginning till there was nothing left of it. And that was the end. That was all that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It didn't become that, but I guess it has turned into that via foiling. And it's like, maybe it's the fact that I don't want the wave to ever end, foiling, you just downwinding and you just keep going and going and going and going. And it's incredible.
Yeah. So that's the water sports background there.
Yeah. Way after that, foiling wise, the way I learned to foil was through kiting, but this was years later, way later in my life.
Did you do kiting as well? That was like the next sport you got into at some stage?
Yeah, so I kept surfing for about the next, 10 years or something, and I got better at it. Not never really good or anything, but just for fun. And then because of the windy season in PR, it just kind of made sense to learn something that was wind related.
Totally.
Just kind of waves get crappy with too much wind. And kiting was that sport for me, and eventually that led to kite foiling, because at first it was just kite surfing. Like I just wanted to use the kite to do the same thing I was doing, but when it's windy. Yeah. With the surfboards. But then somebody gave me like this prehistoric foil. Like it was called prehistoric, but I guess it was like, a step in that evolution. It was extremely low aspect and super heavy. It was a Mango Carafino foil board.
Never even heard of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's he's from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I don't know what his sort of contribution is as a whole to the sport of foiling, but he's certainly not making foils now. Like we don't, at least not that we know of. I've never. So it's an old school foil. This thing was like a boat anchor, how heavy it was. But I learned to use it with a kite, and then slowly progressed to more advanced designs, and but eventually got really kind of burnt out on it, just because of the sort of like mowing the lawn nature of kiting and winging. Just kind of like, I'm gonna go back down. It's just kind of like repetitive. After a while it can get like, it's not dynamic enough of an environment to keep me at least interested for too long. Yeah. You have the way that I think people were dealing with that was that they just keep buying the most advanced possible gear, you know, to kind of like push that extreme. Or it's like, maybe I can squeeze like, you know, 0.1 degree more upwind angle or something, you know. And to me, that was a rabbit hole I didn't want to follow. So I kind of stopped for a while. I stopped water sports altogether, actually, for like 3 years.
Wow.
I just kind of like, I don't know, I just got burnt out, and I was like, I just started exploring music, and I've been a musician for a long time.
Yeah.
So this kind of went down a different thing. And then after the pandemic, I was like, all right, I got to do something that is challenging.
Yeah.
And so I decided to learn how to prone foil, because I had an old setup laying around that I had bought. And the day that I went to learn, I met this guy that was learning to do pop-ups in small waves.
Yep.
With a long kalama. It was like an 8-foot kalama, and he was paddling. And I just started asking. I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, what? And he just said, "Like, look, this is downwind. This is a downwind board. Just go check it out on YouTube. Like, I'm not going to explain this to you. It's really weird."
Yeah, I can relate to that. Did you ask if it had a motor, or you?
No. I don't even know if the foil drive was out yet by then. Okay. Actually, I think e-foils were out, but I don't think the foil drive was out yet.
Yeah.
Was it in 20? This is probably, I would say, April 2023. It might have,
I reckon Gen 1 maybe was out.
Maybe, yeah. But
maybe definitely not the.
I definitely hadn't heard of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went and I checked out what this whole downwind foiling thing was, and I knew right then and there, like, yeah, this is that thing. 'Cause there was a weird feeling when I saw, not weird, just like when I saw what they were doing, and I think, I've mentioned this in another podcast, but the first video that came up was Simeon's, or Voyager foilers, making the case for downwind subfoiling. Yeah. And I don't know if a lot of people have watched that, but
I haven't watched it, so maybe I should go check it out.
It was hugely informative to me. And, not just because there's commentary, and then there's there's all the video of like paddle ups and then foiling, and then Simeon is doing commentary over it. Yeah. And just like the description and the visual was like, okay, that looks like the hardest thing I've ever tried to do, in terms of water sports. Mm-hmm. And I think at the time, again, like I had just kind of gotten overblown with the other stuff, and I really kind of wanted to find something that would really be challenging and take my time. I needed that in my life. Yeah. And sure enough, I found it, because it was freaking hard. It took me a while, man. It took me probably longer than most of the boys that were already doing it at home. Yeah. And now I feel like I'm better for it, but because I was going on everything I could go. Like, I didn't care. I didn't care what conditions was out there, of raining, thunder. I don't care. I would just go. Yeah. Because I wanted to, like, part of me wanted to catch up to, like, the fact that some of the guys were already doing it. There was like 3 guys doing it back home. Yep. And I was like, I gotta catch up, because those guys are probably gonna want to like go to Hawaii or Hood River, and I gotta be doing it already. Yeah. And then I also got tired of seeing them leave me in the dust every time. Like, they would just paddle up, and I would be like there for like the next 2 hours, just trying to understand what a paddle up even is, So it's been a really humbling but also enlightening experience to learn to downwind foil. There's just something about it that it's really incomparable. Mm-hmm. So like, if you explain this to someone who doesn't know anything about water sports or even just downwinding, like,
pretty hard.
Like, it's really just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like, how did we end up here? Totally. Kai Lenny's fault. Thanks, Kai.
Thanks, Kai. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy spot we've ended up in. I certainly know that feeling of trying to describe what you're doing, and even if you could describe what you're doing, I don't think people comprehend what the mental challenge of it, particularly when you're learning and what you go through to kind of, it's a unique sport in that way.
It's an interesting topic too, like, you know, thinking about just racing. Are we good on time or?
Yeah, we're good. Just keep going.
So just, you know, food for thought here is like the fact that a lot of people don't necessarily look at the sport with their own eyes and understand what's happening is maybe a barrier to, you know, the evolution of it from a competitive standpoint. You know, like people can watch F1 and they understand the cars are driving around the road, or they can watch a tennis game and they understand that, like, you know, people are hitting this ball back and forth or whatever the sport is. But if you don't understand what you're watching, why would you watch it, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
So like, you know, you could watch people racing downwind and maybe you'll understand, okay, like they're all moving in the same direction, but the nuanced parts of it, like you and I could see drone footage of someone that just went up and over two like ridiculous bumps and we would be frothing about it. We're like, yeah. Oh, did you see that? Like,
yeah, you'd be like, how did he do that?
Exactly.
I couldn't go that fast. How did he do that? Like, and you like rewatch it. But yeah, I get that.
But someone who's not aware that all they see is, oh, they're just going in the same direction and they're jumping up and down or whatever. You know, like, so, you know, I feel like there's a lot of ways that the sport can grow. You know, when I was in France, I feel like, okay, so bear with me for a second. If you were to take this sport and take the top, let's say 50 riders, or, you know, like put them through some kind of like, you know, put everyone, I guess, through some sort of like qualifiers or something, right? Like you would do for the Olympics or nationals in Australia or whatever, like, you know, just kind of find out who the best of the best is over a period of time and then make a tour. You know, like, and those are the guys. Those are the guys that are going to race. Like nobody else is invited to the race. You know, you can't pay yourself. You can't buy yourself a place in the race, right? Now, like, you know, obviously, like the way that would be enticing for people to watch is you have to have, like, you know, obviously some kind of big media thing going on, with like drones and cameras here, cameras there, or whatever. You can't really watch it from shore. So
totally.
But I felt like what I wanted to mention is, like, of all the events that I've been to, the one that maybe feels like it could, where that format kind of works really well, is the one that we did in Saint-Tropez with Fred Bonnef and the people from I think it's Fred Bonnef and Olivier from Les Isles of Saint-Tropez.
Yep.
And I think you've probably seen the footage from last year. And so, like, imagine, like, you take, in that event, it was like, you know, a lot of great foilers were there, like really, you know, people that know how to do the sport. But there wasn't like the top 30 guys there. You know, like let's say that you get those boats and like you've got the top 30 guys and you take them that format, but all around the world, and like, you know, I don't know, I feel like you start to bring some cohesiveness to what it is, you know, what this whole racing thing is, and put the best product out there, and then, you know, maybe you can turn it into something. I don't know.
Yeah, a format that Josh, I think, said to me, and I've really like started to think of as maybe could be a potential cool avenue. It's tricky because you got it, like, at the end of the day, if something's going to happen, someone's going to have to, or the brands are going to have to come together and work out something.
Absolutely.
But like, I was like, the idea that they were discussing is like, and this really ties into something that I think in Western Australia we've been particularly interested in, is doing like longer runs and more challenging, like kind of adventure type foiling, which Reedy particularly is interested in.
He's a madman at that. He's so good at it. Yeah. Going 200 kilometers in one day. Crazy, man.
But like the idea is basically, imagine it's like team versus team versus team. So you could have an Armstrong team, you have a Code team, you have an Axis team, you have a Unifull team, whatever team. And you put together the competition as a competition holder, but it's like you pick your 2 top riders, one gets a car, or like they get a car and they get a foil setup. Okay. And they have to make it from point A to point B, and whoever gets there first wins.
Really cool.
And like the point A to point B could be 800 kilometers apart.
Oh my God, that's freaking brilliant. Wow, that would be super fun.
You get each team to provide their own media. And then they pay $10,000 to enter whatever. They get a media team, and then someone at the end collates it into a big series. Like that would be the kind of thing that like it's. And then the trick is like downwind foiling makes sense to people if you go, we did 400 kilometers. Yeah. Because people just go, holy fuck, that's so far. Yeah. But like until you give them numbers, like everyone's sort of like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, so he's doing sub 140 or whatever.
Sub 140 doesn't make any sense. Like no one uses
distance portrays or is a more
it makes things seem grand. Certainly. It's like a simple way of showing people that it's
and I guess it brings an element. It's like the Tour de France or something where like you just have these like that's still not I guess it is a team thing, but not in the same capacity that what you're saying. But there's like legs, and you kind of have to like
so it's actually
people who are specialists, right? Like people who are really good at the flat land stuff, and or others that are good at uphill, and others that are really fast at racing downhill. I guess I don't know, but I think of all the things that the one that I described is kind of like I guess a more traditional sort of thing, but I think that again that adds another layer of like
all we need
excitement to a race, So super cool. Racing is super fun, and I think whatever version of that can be explored in a way that brings outsiders into view is just going to be good for foiling in general.
Totally. The one thing I also wanted to ask just before we maybe we'll do this and then we'll do a foiling story. Okay. Because that's like my favorite thing, way to wrap it up is, what are you doing outside of foiling or outside of water sports? What's your
I've been a guitar player since I was literally 10 years old. Yep. And I wouldn't say like, for me that's kind of like just a passion thing. It's not a career. But it's also something that has shaped and informed my life, and in many ways just the process, learning to like accept my limitations as a guitar player, and also to improve my technique, and in the same ways that foiling has, but just for a way longer period of time.
Totally.
So, I've just kind of like always been musically oriented, and so currently the stuff I work at is I just work in music production.
Yes.
I have a small recording studio back in Puerto Rico, and that's cool. That's pretty much.
So you're recording for other artists?
Yeah, well, I do sometimes. That's kind of been less of the work recently, but I've done mostly work for cultural projects that are government funded.
Yeah, nice.
So like, anything that has to do with the arts, or, whether it's poetry or talking about visual arts or podcasts, and then also music recordings. I've done a lot of live recordings in theaters that, holds cultural value back home and stuff. So yeah, I think that's, where my main contribution to, my own culture and my own home lies. And it feels good. It feels good to give something back to to Puerto Rico in that sense. Yeah. It's not like I lived in New York for a long time, for like 8 years when I was in my 20s, and I kind of spent a lot of time doing nonsense computer programming work that felt like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, so to come back home to something afterwards that is a little more meaningful.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Felt really good. Yeah.
That's super cool. Any good projects you worked on recently that like kind of highlight that, or things you can think of?
Yeah, just look up anything from the Instituto de Cultura. That's going to be maybe a little bit hard to translate. Institute, just the Culture Institute. If you find them they have an Instagram account.
Yep.
And basically, like anything from them that is poetry or actually their latest. They have it was like we did like 10 or 12 podcasts.
Yep.
Of covering, really professionally made, like both video and audio wise. I recorded all of the sound.
Yep.
But just covering all, like broad aspects of Puerto Rican culture, everything from cuisine to, I think I've already mentioned poetry, but also comedy, music,
nice,
visual art. In Puerto Rico, we have a lot of street art.
Yep.
And so we did one on that as well. It turned out really well. Yeah.
Wicked.
I'll send you, like, if you want to put a link to it on YouTube, I'll send you the Instagram account, and it's all up there. It's really
perfect.
Good.
We'll do that. I'll
really
chuck a link down the bottom.
The only thing is it's all in Spanish. So again, like, like
good luck.
You might enjoy it.
We might have some Spanish speakers. You'd be surprised. Yeah. Also, okay, what would you recommend as a water lover traveling to Puerto Rico, or just as someone coming to see Puerto Rico? What would you do there? As someone listening to the podcast, we're assuming they're involved in foiling. What would be your ideal trip to Puerto Rico? How would you do it?
Wow. Okay, that's a great question. You can do so many activities. Like Puerto Rico's kind of like an expanded version of Hawaii in that, like, we don't get these intense conditions, but we have a longer coastline. So I feel like the level of variety might be a little greater in terms of, like, okay, it's this isn't working, so let's go over here.
Yeah.
For example, for downwinding, if you can get away from the weeds, which are, I hate to say it, but they're really active right now. They're not like that all year though. You can. I spent I think last month there was this cycle of 2 weeks where it was raining quite a bit in most of the island except for this one place called Guayama, Puerto Rico. And man, we would go there every single day, and it was the only place in all of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is 100 miles long and 35 miles wide. So this tiny little, like, 4-mile spot was nuking every single day, and everything else was rain and no wind. And it's just kind of like that kind of place. Like, it can be fickle, but you have options. You can go. There's lots of proning. There's so many. Recently, a crew from Hawaii, the guys from Foil Fever, went out to Puerto Rico, and they were staying in a town. It's north central. There was no wind, but they were just scoring prone session after prone session, foil drive, paddle up, like sup foil surfing. And then eventually at the end of their trip, I was able to take them on a downwind run. So it's really like, if you want to go down there and you want to do, I would suggest probably somewhere, start with the northwest coast probably. It's the most sort of familiar surroundings in terms of, like, feeling like a bit like a surf town.
Yep.
But there's plenty of wind and also plenty of surf and opportunity. But if it doesn't work out, then just know that there's other parts of the island that can get a lot going. So yeah, That's what I would say.
Sweet.
And just give me a call. I'll help you out.
Perfect. We probably should wrap it up because it is getting kind of late.
It's been a long one, yeah.
Yeah, this has been a long one.
I didn't expect though. I think we did good.
We've covered heaps, but I always like to finish with foiling story. If there's any like one that comes to mind straight away, could be from this trip, could be back at home, something that's happened to you interesting that's related.
I remember when you posted people to send you stories.
Yeah.
And I was gonna send you this one, but it's kind of, the thing is it's kind of long, but I'll make it short. Just.
I mean, we've already gone so long.
It's just a nightmare story. It's a bad decision.
Did you listen to our other foiling stories that we had?
Yeah.
Some of them were pretty bad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it was just a bad call on my part. So I had been without downwinding for like 4 or 5 days. And to me, that's like, I'm entering territory where I'm just like gonna start climbing up walls and going crazy. Like, for some reason,
you need activity.
I need to downwind.
Yeah. Okay.
It just, I feel like the level of addiction might be dangerous. But yeah, it's real.
We'll see.
It's definitely real. So it had been really stormy for days, and like the wind was really not good and kind of shifty and offshore. And this one day, I was just completely done. I had to like do something, and I saw. A lot of times in Puerto Rico, you have to time it. Your run. Like, we're used to that. You know, you're like, oh, it's not good now, but at 1 p.m., I bet you it's going to be good. And if I'm there at 1 p.m., that means I'm going to get my run in. And a lot of times it turns out that way. So this time, you know, so there had been a lot of rain. There was this huge, like, storm coming through, but there was wind. And to me, that's all that matters. Like, that's the one thing. If there's wind, I'm good. You know, I don't care what the tide's doing. I don't care, you know, maybe heavy thunder, I'll call it off, you know, but if it's raining, I don't care. And so it was about 4:30 o'clock afternoon, sun's coming down. I decided to send a 10-mile run because it's side shore, good wind, like considerably good, like 18 knots, but a lot of rain activity. I'll be fine. I've done this run 100 times. No water, no phone, no food, because I've done this run 1,000 times.
Yep.
This is my local run. I got this. You know, why should I bring water? Like, I do this all the time.
How long's the run?
The run is 16K.
Okay.
Yeah. So I start the run. I get about 7K in or 8Ks in. No, a little more. 10Ks in. 10Ks in. And I'm on my small board. I'm on the KT. The KT with a 680. Yeah, so, you know, of course, like, why not? You know, that's what I've been training on. So it's, So, you know, this local run, you're way offshore. You're like 2 miles offshore because you got to get past outer reef. So that's another thing. It starts to rain and the wind shifts offshore. And I'm like, I'm still on foil. I got this. I just don't fall. But the offshore turned into a headwind and it got me and I fell. And it wasn't blowing too hard offshore. It wasn't like dangerously offshore, but there was that day was a big swell, big ground swell. Must have been like, I don't know. It just, on the outer reef, it must have been 8 foot, 10 foot, you know, breaking. Solid. So solid, long period swell. And because of all the rain the previous days, the rivers were all overflowing. So there's a big current going out.
Right.
And it's 5:30. Sun is half an hour away from going down, and I'm 2 miles out. So I decided to just paddle in. Well, I had to choose what, paddle in or paddle to the end of the run. And with the groundswell and how late it was, I was gonna have to cross a really gnarly outer reef, and it was probably gonna be dark. And I was just like, man, that's I'm gonna get my ass worked over there. So I decided to paddle in just paddle straight to the beach where I was. But this is I would say about a 2 mile paddle in with river current pushing out, rain, and huge swell. Anyway, I paddled for about an hour and a half because of that river current was just like it just felt like I wasn't moving. Like I would keep seeing the sun coming down, and in the distance, really far away, I could see the palm trees and the beach, mountains behind it, and nothing was changing. Like nothing felt like it was getting closer. So I just kind of no water, no food, no phone. Nobody knows, it's dark, and some people knew that I was on a run, but they're not hearing from me. So I just kept paddling and paddling. Eventually I start to get there, but it's already night. And the shore break is nasty, like just huge. And man, I finally got to the shore, but I must have gotten like, I don't know, 3 or 4 solid freaking dragged under and over, foil setup just gone. I think I lost the paddle. I never saw it again. I lost my nice white Voyager hat. That was my favorite one. Gone. Yeah. So in that shore break, just to make it matters worse, there's like tons of erosion. So a lot of palm trees had fallen. And man, I swear, like I escaped from a real bad situation because one of these palm trees was like, it's completely pitch black dark now.
You can't see.
And I'm in a shore break getting flogged. And I just kind of landed right on the sand, right next to all the spikes from the roots of a palm tree that were coming up like this. And dude, I don't know. I mean, just when I got up from that experience, I just remember like just kind of, I think I started crying. It was really rad and scary.
Yeah.
Like I got really lucky that I didn't hit that palm tree. It might have been the end of me. Because these are like spikes basically coming out of the beach, out of the sand like this. And so, yeah, man, like the learning experience there is like, just don't do stupid things. Just no.
I do think it's
the level of desire that you might have to like, oh, it's windy, like be safe first.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Just yeah.
And no, I think you get comfortable in your home. Oh. That's probably the gnarliest story I've heard.
I had to be taken back. Like I had to find. I'm not hitchhike, but I had to find someone random to take me back to my car. Like it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare run.
Yeah.
Literal nightmare.
Yeah. What about your board? Did it pull up okay somehow?
Nothing happened to the board and nothing happened to the foil. I don't know how, but my paddle was gone.
Yeah.
And my hat was gone, and I just remember being so tired from all the paddling against that river current. It was just like I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say that I was close to like dehydrating or like something dangerous like fainting or something out in the water, but the fact that it was pitch black and you're dealing with this huge shore break was probably the scariest thing I've ever been
what was it like?
Any water, like ocean experience. Like
the dark makes such a difference.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Try not to get stuck at dark.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
What was it like that moment before you paddled in through the shore? Like obviously, was there a moment where you picked? Okay,
that was the hardest part.
I'm taking on the shore break.
Yeah, because you're seeing all you see is you hear it, right? You hear these freaking bombs exploding on the shore, and all you see is the silhouette of them go. You don't see how close you are to them. You can only go by feel. And when I say pitch black, there was no moon. And there's it's an area that is like just kind of cloudy. Remote. It's not lit by buildings, or there's no buildings around. So you're really like all you have. Actually, I remember there was a cell phone tower way back with a little red bulb. That was the only thing that was guiding me in the right direction. So I used that little red bulb to just kind of like keep orientation. But once you got close enough to shore, there was like, you were gonna get the beating of your life, doesn't matter where you went. And so you just kind of had to brace yourself. The first one, this is a good technique that I learned, but after the second one, like the pickup was so violent that I had to let go. Is if you're gonna cross an outer reef or something and you're gonna get a lot of whitewater on you, man, get off from your board, hold on to the base of your mast and to the top of the board like this, right? And you are between the wave that's coming and the board. And just, so you've got the mast, unless it's really shallow, don't do this. But if there's enough depth, like the board is just sitting in the water, hold on to the bottom of the mast and then the top of the board, and just let the wave hit you and hold on to that mast. The mast will just drag you with the water. So it just kind of like, I did that for the first two, but then the third and the fourth were just lifted. So I couldn't do it for the whole time. But that technique really works for me when I'm crossing outer reefs and it's big and I for some reason I couldn't pump all the way through. Now I have to swim across.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
That is fun.
But you just grab the mast and then the top of the board and just kind of let it drag you.
I've learned something.
Super easy.
That sounds like a good strategy.
Super easy. Super easy.
Sweet. Well, thank you, Jay. Thanks for sharing the story.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, man. It's super good to meet you and hang out for a bit.
Super good to me too. I'm excited to do some more runs and maybe on some of the small boards.
Oh yeah, you got it anytime. Let's rock and roll. Bye.
A quick update from the team here at the Foil Project. Desert Winds Downwind Foiling the Ningaloo is available online now at thefoilproject.com. If you enjoy the podcast and want to support the Foil Project, the best possible way you can do this is by renting Desert Winds at thefoilproject.com. The 47-minute documentary takes you on the 300-kilometre journey from Red Bluff to Mildura Wreck, where we get to traverse amazing coastline, see the most beautiful animals, and have the absolute adventure of a lifetime. From the live reactions of over 700 people who got to see the film on the Australian tour, I can promise that you will enjoy it. It feels right to give back to this beautiful place that gave us such an amazing adventure. So 5% of all online sales are going to be donated to the conservation organisation Protect Ningaloo. By raising awareness and taking considered action, I truly hope that we can conserve beautiful places like this around the world for generations to come. So please head to thefoilproject.com, check out Desert Winds, and I hope you enjoy this episode of The Foil Project. Cheers.